Welcome everyone, I am Tock Custom with TNT Cosplay Supply, and we have a very special guest on the show today.
Hi everyone, I'm Tiffany from Tiffany Gordon Cosplay.
What are we going to be doing today, Tiffany?
Well, today we're going to be making the Yuna staff from the game Final Fantasy.
Cool. So you have your own pattern that you made, and
Yep.
we are going to show everyone what tools we're going to be using and then how to transfer that and get started building this. Anything else?
No, I'm excited.
Cool.
Let's get to work.
All right, now to get started making this staff, Tiffany, do you want to start with what we are going to need?
We're first going to be using my blueprint, which is the Yuna staff, and it is available on my website, www.tiffanygordoncosplay.com. Now to put that together, we're going to need some just normal clear tape, as well as an X-Acto knife, and then tack.
Then we've just got some straight blades, a Dremel tool with our little extender, some markers for transferring our pattern. We've got some of our Cos tool hole drills, which is really going to help with some of the details, contact cement, and we've got parchment paper for tracing paper. The rest of what we'll need is some 2 and 4 millimeter black TNT foam, and then we've got some bells and some leather cording for an accent at the bottom.
And then for the main part of the staff, we're going to be using CPVC pipes, as well as we're going to be making it detachable. And so with that, we're going to need male and female adapters, and then we'll also need epoxy to glue those pieces together.
Okay, so Tiffany traced her actual pattern onto some parchment paper, and now what are you going to do now?
Now we're going to cut it out using an X-Acto knife.
All right, now Tiffany just cut out this part of her pattern, so we're going to transfer this over to some 2 millimeter foam. All right, now we are just going to take off the pattern, and I'm going to cut this out using some precision blades. Now, while Tiffany is cutting out the interior of that, what am I going to do with the pattern here?
So now you're going to cut out these extra little pieces, and those are then going to make it so we can trace this onto 4 millimeter EVA foam and cut the next piece out.
All right, now we cut out our 2 millimeter layer of foam, which is going to be sandwiched between 2 4 millimeter layers of foam. So now I've got a piece of 4 millimeter foam, and we cut out the other parts of the pattern that won't be part of this. So we're going to trace and cut out 2 of these to sandwich around this 4 mil piece here.
So we finished cutting out all of our pieces. What we did decide to do was to cut an extra piece of 4 millimeter for either side, just to add a little more structural support and more thickness to the piece. Now that all the pieces are cut, what we're going to do is heat treat each individual EVA foam piece using a heat gun.
So while Tiffany is heat sealing that foam, I'm going to be using barge mixed with a little bit of barge thinner in my glue pot to start sealing some of these layers together. So we're going to spend some time putting these together and then do some sanding. Okay, so while I'm putting some contact cement on one of our layers of foam here, it's really important that if you're doing layers of foam, that you get contact cement all the way to the edges of your layers so that when you sand it, you get a nice smooth edge that doesn't kind of come apart at those seams. All right, so Tiffany is going to take these away, and then we're going to do the front part of the top of our staff first. So this contact cement is dry and ready. Now I'm just going to do my best to match these up so that they are symmetrical and every line matches up without making any mistakes at all somehow. Actually, that looks pretty good. Now once these are all together, we will end up sanding these so that everything matches up perfectly. And if you notice that some of the pieces are not overlapping properly, you can kind of bend the foam and force it into shape where it needs to go, which is really nice. That looks pretty good, and I might not even have to sand this a whole lot. So we've got the front half here, and then we're going to do our 2 millimeter in the middle, and then the other half on the other side of that.
All right, so Tock put both of these pieces together for us, and now he is going to sand our 2mm EVA foam piece, which is the center one, using his Dremel and a sanding drum attachment. And while he does that, I'm going to trim our edges using an X-Acto knife, so that way it's a little less cleanup.
All right, so we've got two of these layered pieces that are cut out and sanded, but we couldn't really Dremel or sand on the inside of these corners here. So what Tiffany here is going to explain what she's doing now.
So we're going to kind of make a makeshift jewelry saw, which is something I used to use as a jewelry designer, and we're making it out of this really thick...
It's 48mm EVA foam and popsicle sticks.
Yeah. So basically, he cut it with a bandsaw and then used an X-Acto knife, inserted it into the foam as far as it would go, and then you just get the popsicle sticks and insert it, and then that'll hold it in place for the most part. Now we're going to take some 120 sandpaper, and we are going to fold a small little section in half, and then we are going to cut it. This will make it so you can sand using both sides of the sanding paper rather than just one. So normally with a jewelry saw, it would be a metal frame with a handle, and there would be two adjustable screws that you would insert it and clamp it down on either side. But instead, we're going to try to tape it. Okay, so now that we have this part attached, we taped it on one section. You don't want to tape it to the other one because you want to be able to put it through your piece.
Kind of like a scroll saw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you'll attach it with more masking tape on the other side. Yeah, you can make another one too and do the other side.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Yes.
So you're basically going to just use it to the edges and sand. You do want to make sure not to go too much. If you go too much, you'll remove too much EVA foam. So just do it lightly, sanding up and down, and that'll make you have nice and crisp, clean edges. And because this is EVA foam, you can also bend it and kind of get a little closer.
This is very interesting. This is one of the most unusual things I've ever done with sanding, but it works. All right, now that Tiffany are done sanding the interior detail corners with our, what do you call it, makeshift sanding saw, right? Yeah. Now we are going to glue all three of these layers together. So we've got, yes, the X is where the glue goes. There will be glue on this one eventually, and then on this side as well. Okay, so I'm just going to apply glue to these, and then we're going to let that set, dry, and then put these together and then do the same exact thing on the other layers. All right, so now that these are dry, we can put all these pieces together. So I'm just going to very carefully start at the bottom, match those up, and kind of match up the top point here, and then our kind of corner points. Okay, now I'm just going to put pressure all the way around the whole thing, and we should have the whole top part of our staff done all at once.
All right, so we finished putting all of the pieces together, and now we're going to go back with our Dremel and sanding drum one more time just to make sure all of our edges that are now glued go nice and flat and smooth together. I'm also going to round all of the edges at the very end.
All right, now while Tiffany is still sanding, we've got this kind of spire right here where our PVC is going to go into. So we've cut out a couple other pieces that are going to go on top of that. So this is a nice kind of round shape that our PVC is going to bore and fit into right. All right, now we finished assembling and sanding our whole top piece of our staff, which I think looks really good. And this is not primed or anything yet. We have to add a couple of pieces here where our PVC pipe is going to go. Now, originally we were going to make this modular so that you're going to be able to screw the top on and take it off, but to save on a little bit of time, we're just going to make this one solid piece. So At some point, I think Tiffany might be willing to come back and show us how to make some modular props. But for right now, we're just going to make one solid staff.
Sorry, we got distracted by dinosaurs and going to Joanne's fabric.
That is, yeah. I love Joanne, yeah. Hold on, whatever. Dinosaurs and cats were fun. It was good.
We've got a problem, and we have the solution. It's this Cost Tools hole puncher that will punch these holes.
Now, okay, now we're going to drill holes on these accent pieces that are going to go all the way through. If you have a drill that fits this, that would be fine, but we have these Cos tools, and one of these is our hole drill. So we're going to use this, and it's as simple as just pressing and twisting into the foam. And this is pretty thick because we layered it up so much, so we're just going to do it on the front and back side, and then they should just pop right out. Okay, so we've got our perfect holes drilled, which looks really good. And now it's time for us to fit our kind of front mount on the front and back with these pieces here, and then we're going to glue it together and sand it so it looks nice and round. Okay, so we're going to trace where our armature is going to go, or our PVC pipe, and I'm going to do it so that it just fits in there in a very narrow slot. Thank you for holding that, Tiffany. So now we're going to cut this out, and the PVC pipe should just, you know, very tightly squeeze in there, and then we're going to sandwich these two parts over it so that everything stays nice and firm together.
All right, so now that we have this traced, we're going to use a box cutter, and we are going to cut out that little section.
All right, so Tiffany is going to sand the top of the PVC, which will help the contact cement stick to it a little bit better.
Love
While
sound.
she's doing that, I'm going to fill the inside of the foam with some undiluted contact cement. All right.
Because you don't want the glue to go where it's not supposed to go.
Right. So you're just going to cram it in there and then squeeze it. I can say that on camera, right?
Sure, sure.
Yeah. All right, now we're going to do the top part, and then once that is set and dry, we will do the opposite side.
Start at the bottom where the CPVC pipe is and align it as flush to it as possible, and then slowly lay it down.
So now we're going to trace these where they will go. All right, now I'm just going to put glue on the inside here and on either of these new little pieces that we just cut.
So now what I'm going to do is we're going to go back to our Dremel with our sanding drum, and we are going to round all of this off so it is nice and pretty.
Now while Tiffany is doing that, this is the bottom part of the pattern that she had made, and we're going to make kind of a spiral wrap out of adhesive back foam. This looks like it's about 1 inch wide here, so I'm going to cut this about 1.25 inches so that it overlaps as it goes all the way around down to the bottom. So Tiffany is holding our beautiful half-made staff, and there's a part on the pattern that is kind of a circular thing that goes here. So we cut out a piece of 18mm foam, and I'm going to bore a hole in the middle, and then we're going to sand it so that it fits the rounded shape around our staff. Yeah. All right, now let's see if it'll fit on the staff.
No.
It's going to be a real tight squeeze there at first.
Oh, it does. Okay.
Perfect. Okay, good.
All right, so we have our really nice top half of the staff all done and pretty. And now we are going to work on the bottom half of the staff using some of the straps that Tock had originally cut out. And it's the...
Yes, we're going to use the adhesive back foam to wrap it, and then we're going to make it look like leather when we end up priming and painting it. Tiffany's going to use a Sharpie to mark where the leather strap will stop. at the top. I think that should be good there. All right, so now with our strapping, all I need to do, I can actually see the lines here, so I know that as long as I follow that angle, this is going to be perfect. So I'm going to start at the bottom, and all I have to do is just follow the angle of what Tiffany's pattern has here. So I'm going to make sure that I've got the bottom completely covered, and I'm just going to follow the angle of this, make sure that the bottom is nice and sticky there, and then either slightly overlap or end up being perfectly flush with the other side. And it looks like it's going to end up being more flush than overlapping. Actually, that's going to look maybe even better that it's flush, because then when we hit it with the heat gun, it's going to open up like when we score our foam. But I just got to be very precise about this.
And we still gotta put the thingy at the bottom too, the pyramid thingy.
All right, so on Tiffany's pattern, there is an accent at the bottom, and it's gonna be hard to see it. We've got a couple of score lines in here, and that'll pop out when we hit it with the heat gun. So there's kind of an accent at the bottom of where the pummel is, and then there is an accent at the top. So we already cut those out, and we are going to apply them right on top of our spiraled leather wrap here. All right, so now we're going to take our top accent. We're going to wrap around the top. So about half of it is over the top of the spiral, which is good, and it'll give us a nice little kind of two-layered texture as we wrap this all the way around.
Okay, so our next step is we're gonna do a final heat treat over all of this part, and then we will move to the bottom half once we get our little diamonds triangle thing attached to it.
Tiffany are going to show you how we're finishing our final details, right? So you've got a piece that's going to kind of hold the, what was it, like a leather strap that holds a bell, correct?
Yeah, so we've got one of our EVA foam products,
that's a 5mm round dowel.
Yes, and I've gone ahead and cut it. This part we're going to end up gluing to our little triangle piece, and this is going to be the part that the bell is going to be attached to. Now, Tock is, he cut out of the same thickness of this EVA foam, this piece, and he is punching a hole through it, so that way it will go through the CPVC pipe, and then we can attach this piece on top to it.
So once again, on the bottom, we are going to sandpaper the PVC pipe so that the adhesive sticks to it a little bit better.
I'm going to apply a little bit of contact cement glue to the inside of the circle, and then I'm going to apply it to the part that he is sanding. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to go ahead and apply glue more to the top as well to prep for our next piece, which is the attaching the triangle to it as well.
Once those are attached, we can sand those together.
Yes.
Okay.
And then we're just sliding it onto the piece, like so.
That fits perfectly. Okay.
And then we are going to attach our little triangle doohickey on top.
I suppose we could call that a pummel, right?
Sure.
Staves can have pummels, right? All right. Perfect. Now, when these are bonded a little bit stronger, we will sand this whole thing so that it looks like it's one solid piece right here, but I think so far we've got a good start to the bottom here. Now all we have to do is put that dowel, oh here we go, which is supposed to resemble kind of like a chain link type thing, right? So we'll just put, I think we should use super glue for this. I think that's going to be stronger than contact cement. Okay, that looks pretty good.
Okay.
Heat treat, yeah.
Yep.
Go for it. Yeah. So the adhesive is starting to kind of peel.
Push it. There you go.
It's hot.
Hold on, you gotta.
It's hot. It's Yeah, that looks pretty good. I actually kind of like that there's a little bit of a gap. Not on this part. Yeah, since I just glued this on. Okay, that's starting to... Oops, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I normally will heat it all up and then I go back and fish it down.
Okay. So I'm just going to put... I'll do it right where the seam is, I guess. Seems like a good idea. Alright, so... The good thing about super glue is it soaks into foam so fast and then it dries so fast. Actually, that looks pretty good. Yeah, we're ready to plastic dip this. All right, Tiffany, what did we just do today?
We made our Yuna prop out of CPVC pipe.
You just covered my face. No, it's fine. I like it. It's good. So we completed the entire prop without any primer or paint is what we did. So from top to bottom, this thing is ready for primer. We're not going to be filming it, but we are going to be priming it with typical plastic dip tonight. We're going to let it cure overnight. And then we will come back tomorrow and we are going to do a full painting and weathering top coat and seal job.
Yep.
Is there anything else you'd like to add? Yep, exactly.
Okay.
So we had a lot of fun making this prop with you guys today. Thank you so much to Tiffany for coming out to help us put this together. This is going to be the end of this video, and make sure you watch the next video where we are going to prime, paint, weather, and top coat this. So Tiffany will be back for that video as well. Thank you so much for watching. Anything you'd like to add before we wrap this up?
Yay, we're gonna get to paint.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
Excellent. See you guys in the next video. Thank you for watching.
Okay, bye. Okay.
Okay, bye. Okay, that's good.